Hello and welcome to Hunter Fuel, a supernatural rewatch podcast for adults who enjoy their show with a chaser. I'm Liz.
And I'm Lynn.
Thanks so much for joining us for season 1, episode 14, Nightmare. We model responsible drunkenness here. All participants are way over 21. No one is pregnant. No one will be driving, handling weapons, operating heavy machinery, or stabbing our parents, even if they deserve it. If you're playing along with us, those are the rules. If you decide not to follow them and you do something stupid, don't blame us. Uh, as I've been saying for the last several episodes, we are going to be doing a wrap up video at the end of the season. So if there's anything you want us to talk about, any questions you have, please put those in the chat for the video, and we'll see if we can address those for you.
Yep.
Lynn, what are you drinking this evening?
And believe it or not, margarita. I was like, what the hell am
You?
I drinking?
How are
I
those things
actually,
called?
well, I actually had to make something. So yes, I'm doing a margarita that I turned into a shot.
So you cooked.
So yes, I actually concocted.
You concocted.
I concocted.
Well, the theme cocktail for this episode is appropriately enough a nightmare. It is 1 ounce of London dry gin, 1 ounce of Dubonnet, which I may or may not be pronouncing correctly, and didn't have in the house anyway. So I substituted Campari, 1/2 ounce of cherry liqueur, a scant ounce of orange juice, and a dash of orange bitters. You put that all in a shaker over ice, shake it up, pour that over fresh ice, and you have a nightmare on your hands. Uh, Wizard Dave, can you bring up our supernatural game cards for us, please? Let's take a look at these, see what we think. I, I, I'm semi-confident.
I say I'm semi-confident also.
All right. We are going to have to see what this episode has in store for us. So, as always, the first one is on the house. Oh, cheers.
Cheers. Ooh, I did pretty good on that. That's the first time I'd actually tried it.
See? That is so for the folks at home, that is my personal margarita recipe.
Yeah. Yes,
I
yes,
shake
it is.
I shake up a mean margarita. That being said, I will be honest, I am not a huge fan of this nightmare. It's a little heavy on the bitters for me. Some people
Now, is
enjoy.
it better or worse than that one that you
Oh, the
absolutely?
asylum. I don't know that anything could be worse. It was I was talking to a friend at work and I was telling him how bad it was. And I said it's called an asylum and he said because you'd have to be crazy to drink it. Yeah, pretty much. Um it is better than that. It's just more bitter than I prefer. So, hopefully I'm mistaken about being confident and I won't have to drink that much. If if you're playing along with us, there's a link to generate a card of your very own in the link tree. So, with that, let's get this show on the road, hitting play, and this
And
is our
for some
first.
reason, okay,
You
hold on.
paused
For
it.
some
Is there
reason,
something you wanted to address?
well, no, mine decided to shut down on me. So hold
Oh,
on. Okay, we're good.
we're back. Entertain yourselves for a minute, folks. We're back. Okay, we ready?
I think so. Yes, yes, we're good.
Okay. Okay. Now we're getting the show on the road. And this is
Technical difficulties.
technical difficulties. Um, so this is one of our first. Now mine has stopped.
I say I didn't pause it that time.
That was me. Okay. This is going to be great. Well, let's get this show on the road. So we have an actual, legitimate, bespoke, previously on segment this time. We've got John warning the boys that something bigger is happening. We're seeing Sam's dreams and visions of things before they happened, and we've got these little bits of Dean indicating he's really not terribly comfortable with what's going on with Sam.
I
Should we
don't I
start?
don't think Sam is comfortable with what's
Well,
going on with
no.
Sam.
That's fair. Sam's not comfortable either, but Dean, I think, is trying to put a good face on it.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we have here is we're in Michigan, and a gentleman is driving home. He's pulling into his garage, and we have this really long look at a Michigan license plate. So, I mean, that can't possibly be important at all. But the song he was listening to on the radio as he was driving in is called 2+2 by Bob Seger, which if you're watching this on Netflix, you would not have heard. But here he is sitting in the car, and things are starting to go badly. He turns the car off, it's turning itself back on, the doors are locked, he's trapped in the car, and exhaust is starting.
Pouring in, which is so not good.
This is a bad situation. The exhaust is starting to come in through the vents on the car. He's desperately trying to get out, but the doors are locked and he's stuck. He's trying to shut the car off and he just breaks the key off in the ignition. So whoever this guy is, he's having a bad day. He's screaming, "Help me! Somebody help me!" Can't get out of the car. He's starting to cough and he just collapses in the car. So this guy is this is the end. This is the end of his evening. His evening did
Yeah, but
nothing.
yep, I was gonna say this guy's a goner.
This guy is goner. Time's all up. And we realize this is a dream that Sam is having. He sits up in bed. And this is interesting here. He turns on the light. Now he's a little sweaty, and here's Dean with his arm out. So he's asleep in bed. They're both fully dressed. We've got this
Nuts.
star we've got this starburst clock that we've seen before on the wall here. And this great transition where it comes in on the desk lamp and that immediately translates to or transitions to the headlight on the Impala. They're racing to this address and uh we have a fake ID here,
ID.
which will check our supernatural bingo cards in just a second. We also have a Sammy. So we're off to a great start. Um, and Sam is using this pilfered license ID of his to call in the license plate. Dean is busily saying, no, it's just a dream. It's fine. Why would you be having a premonition of some dude in Michigan? So we've got a dude as well. And oh, I wish I liked this cocktail more because these are coming hot and heavy. Come to find out, this is a legit address, and we can see in Dean's face that this is alarming.
I was gonna
He
say that
says,
if that's not an oh fuck look, I don't know what is on
yeah, this
Dean's
is
face.
definitely, and Sam just says, drive faster. We hear the engine rev, and Dean takes off. They get to this address. The police are already there ahead of them. They're in Saginaw, Michigan. And they pull up and they realize it's too late. They're watching the coroner zip this guy into a body bag. So whatever has happened, the Winchesters are too late. And they realize, okay, this is
No,
not good. Th-
nope.
Okay, so we've got our supernatural title card. I am going to pause it
Yeah, because
And okay, we have a lot to check on our cards
yes,
here. And then I have a couple of things I want to mention before we move on. So
yes,
we have, so first off, we have a quirky motel room because the boys were
yeah,
in a
a quirky
motel
one.
room. So I have one of those.
So do I.
We have a fake ID.
So do I have that too.
Okay, you get the fake ID. I'm still looking. I do not have one. We have a Sammy,
Do I have that?
which I do not have either. And then we also have a dude.
I have that.
Okay, fake ID, quirky motel room, Santa. I think that was all of them.
I think that's plenty. One shot. We've gone through entire episodes lately, and that's all we've gotten in the entire
We already
episode.
pulled open and we already have four. Well, on okay, so I'm
Damn.
gonna I'm gonna drink from my one tiny little quirky motel room here.
I'm gonna have a slightly thicker one because I had three.
Oh,
I can see how much you love that.
that's
Shoot.
thank you, Stupornatural bingo card for just giving me one. It
Ah.
was not tasty. Okay, before we go on, a couple things I want to point out. So first off, again, as they're asleep in this motel room, we can see that the first couple of episodes of Supernatural, we would see them in their sleepy pants or whatever. But they're just in bed fully clothed. Now they're under the covers, but there's some different fan theories about this. Some of it because, they're hunters. They always have to be ready for, like a nightmare in the middle of the night that sends you after some guy in Saginaw. They, and so that's why they're sleeping in their clothes. The theory I personally like is, and this is something we haven't heard from them yet, but it's going to be kind of a reoccurring theme in the series. It's not really a spoiler, but they comment with some regularity that they do not get a lot of sleep, that the
Yeah,
hunter's lifestyle does not come with a standard 8 hours of rack time.
yeah.
So my the again, it's a fan theory and it's one I personally ascribe to, is that they're just exhausted and they just stagger into a motel room and collapse on the bed because they've been driving, and that's why they're in their clothes. The other thing is, so Dean has fallen asleep with one arm kind of flung out, which is what Sam, when Sam wakes up with this nightmare, he
Yeah.
immediately kind of reaches out and it kind of grabs Dean, and Dean starts going, "What?" Again, there's a fan theory I kind of like that um, this it's going to be a couple of episodes from now where we really start getting a good hard look at what the boy's childhood was like. And this is something we're going to see more than once from Dean. Again, spoiler alert, throughout the series, that he tends to kind of fall asleep with like one arm kind of hanging out towards Sam. And the fan theory is that they were children, and Sam would wake up in the middle of the night, so that Dean just kind of got in the habit of falling asleep that way in case his brother needed him. So can't prove it, can't disprove it. It's something I think is plausible.
Okay, I'm gonna take that then kind of in a different direction then, now that
Okay,
you've said that.
say
Because
more.
I can buy that.
Hmm.
We see how well Dean does without his brother.
Yeah,
Not well.
he does not do well. Um,
So, like, I mean, I'll admit, I didn't really think too much about it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
the dude's asleep, and we all sleep in some
Yeah.
peculiar ways.
And it's in the
And
script that, Sam is going to wake up and like, hey, so
yeah,
that could be Jensen getting ready for the next thing in the scene. Yeah,
yeah.
you're
But I
you're
mean,
absolutely right.
yeah, but I can see it being like, because we've seen how, and we've started seeing it a little bit more, and I've commented on it a couple of times. We've seen it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, that the insecurity, I don't know if insecurity is the right word, but just that extreme brotherly connection that he has with them. So I could see him
Yeah,
kind of subconsciously always kind of reaching out,
yeah,
even in sleep, for his brother. Like
for his
I could
brother.
see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that's going to come up a lot over the next 15 seasons. And I've probably commented on it before that Dean is really only half a person without his brother. The being Sam's big brother forms the core of his identity. So yeah, I I think you're absolutely right. There's any number of reasons why he could be sleeping that way, but I would say at least 50% of those reasons have to do with his connection to his brother.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I wanted to bring it up here, even though it's a little early, is because something else is going to happen a little later in the episode. So I wanted
Yeah.
to kind of tease it here. Okay,
Okay.
on we go. So we've got our title card, and here we are again. So now
Oh,
Dean is out in the crowd.
hold on. We're having technical problems again.
Ruh-roh. So we have Dean moving through the crowd. He's talking to the neighbors. We've got Sam here, and they're trying to figure out what has happened. And one of the neighbors they're talking to mentions that, this was a church-going guy, that every Sunday she saw him at St. Augustine's. He seemed like a nice person, but the police are identifying it as being a suicide. And she's telling them that they found this guy inside with the engine running, just like Sam saw in his dream or vision or whatever.
Hey, I'm sure
Uh,
you noticed. Did you look at the look on Dean's eyes? Like he's not buying that.
they're certainly not buying that this is a suicide. We have the family now. Another gentleman has come up. We're going to find out in a moment. This is the brother. So we have the brother, the widow now, and the person we're going to find out is their son Max. They're all kind of huddled on the porch, and the the widow at least is visibly grieving.
Yes.
Um, the episode is written by Sarah Gamble and Rael Tucker, and they're some of my favorite writers. They are responsible for Dead in the Water and Faith. So some of our best
Ooh.
episodes up to this point have been written by this writing pair. Directed by Phil Segrisha. This is the first episode of his that he directs. We're going to see Phil Segrisha's name a lot. He's one of the two resident directors, and the guy's excellent. He's got a great eye. Um, so they're talking about what's happened, and Sam having seen this before it happened. And they're like, okay, well, where do we go from here? Let's treat this like any other case. And Sam says, you can see the family, they're devastated. They're not going to talk to us. And Dean, excuse me, yeah, you're right. I know who they will talk to. And we just got this little smile from Dean. He's got a plan. We cut
This is
to the next day. They're on the porch. Sam is like, we have never sunk this low. Camera pans up, and it's hot priest Sam and Dean. They have identified themselves as Father Simmons and Father Freely, who are two members of the band Kiss.
okay.
There it is. There is a great outtake on the gag reel. If you have the access to the gag reel from this season, where so both Jared and Jensen, they tend to, particularly Jared, they tend to run a little warm, and Sam and Dean's wardrobe is always multiple layers. I'm going to pause this for a second here. I want to talk a little bit about this actress. Um, so they, anytime they had like a jacket or, a shirt under a jacket under another shirt, yeah, they would ask wardrobe to cut the sleeves off. So they
Mhm.
on the gag reel is this really iconic fan favorite shot of the two of them in their black shirts with the sleeves cut off, flexing, clerical collars, and they identify themselves as being Chippendales.
That's awesome.
But it's a great photo. You see it making the rounds on the fan sites pretty frequently. The two of them are hilarious. So this actress here, this is Beth Broderick. She plays Alice, and she's going to be identified as the mother. Is probably most recognizable from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But I think she does a great job with this role. It's a little bit different of a role than we typically see this actor in, and I think she does a great job. Oh, hitting play. Here we go. So she's inviting the two hot priests for some coffee. She's got a casserole because that's what everybody does is they bring casserole. She's making the two of them coffee, and Dean is trying so hard to pull off what he thinks a priest is going to look like.
And
You know, me,
Deanie,
so Dean is eating. So, you know what? Let's actually pause this here. Let's check our game cards here, see if either one of us have Dean eats. And while we're looking,
I do.
I do not, which I'm not going to lie, makes me pretty happy. So this is the beginning of a running gag. This scene here is why Dean eats or drinks is on our game cards. Because this was not in the script. This was something Jensen improved at the time that he would just start eating these, and he got done. He said they did not taste good, and when he got done with the end of the scene, he talked to the props lady whose name was Robin, the on-set props person. He's like, "Hey, were these actually edible?" And she's like, "Not so much." She's like, "They're fresh. They're probably but they were not supposed to be eaten." But he just saw the comedy of it and starts like jamming these little cocktail sausages in his face. And the writers fell in love with it. And so for the next 15 seasons, every time they have an opportunity, they've got Dean shoving food in his face.
Well,
All right, off we go.
fortunately for me, my cocktail this week is tasty.
And that's good. It's good. I'm glad you're having more luck than I am because I kind of don't want to drink mine. So they're talking to the widow here and they're asking her, did her husband have any kind of a history of depression? And she's like, "Oh no, we were happy. Everything was perfect. I don't understand why he would do this." Dean is asking about anything wrong in the house. He's, standard cold spots, light flickering, those kinds of things.
Like the
But
normal questions you ask
normal
somebody
questions
when
you
they're
ask at a funeral. Oh yeah, totally normal. Any priest visiting at a time of grief is going to ask if you have electrical problems in the house. This is totally normal. And she's like, "Oh no, everything was perfect. The house is wonderful. We were happy." And it's like, is anybody really that perfect? Is ever anybody, so we've got Sam now has broken off to go talk to the son, Max, who's Brendan Fletcher. He's been in an absolute shit ton of stuff. He's a very, very recognizable actor. He's been in shows
Yes.
like Siren, Arrow, iZombie, and Lynn, you probably recognize him from the show I always tease you for.
I was gonna say I know I recognize him.
Yeah, he was in Heartland.
Yes, that's why I'd recognize him.
So, yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff. So, uh, Dean realizes he's not going to get anything that's really helpful for him from the widow. So he's like, "Oh, hey, can I use the restroom?" So she points him upstairs. He, of course, grabs another cocktail sausage on his way. He needs some provisions for the trip. And so now Sam is talking to Max, and Max is again insisting, no, everything was fine. We were the perfect family. Everything's great. He says he has this little line about trying to save up for school, but it being hard. And this is really the first connection that we see between Max and Sam. That Sam obviously was in college when he got pulled away to look for dad. I almost called him Brendan. That's the actor. Max, the character, saying, he wanted to go to college. So there's the first kind of little nibbles that there's some similarities between Max and Sam. So Sam is doing a little bit better job of impersonating a priest than
Yeah.
Dean was. He's deploying the puppy dog eyes to full effect. Um, Now, Dean pulls this gizmo out of his pocket. This is not an EMF detector,
Yeah.
tragically. They're going to identify this in a bit as a, a infrared thermal scanner. And the moment Cricky saw it, he's like, no, no, this is way too high tech for these boys. I mean, it's got lasers on it. Like, these
This
guys
is
are
so
analog.
them.
Yeah,
No, this is so them.
this is way too high tech. These guys are, blue collar, bodge things together, make do, analog tech kinds of folks. They shouldn't have lasers. But regardless, they're not finding anything. So at this point, they don't have any idea really what's going on. Transition to their new quirky motel room. And this scene here, Dean has just like every weapon they've got spread out around the bed. He's cleaning them all. And the direction from Phil Segresha to Jensen was just keep cleaning them all and try not to look at them because, Dean he spent his entire life since he was out of diapers. He's got a familiarity with weaponry. So just like try really hard not to look at them all. Jensen has complained about this teasingly, but complained about this at conventions that he's got 100 props around him. He's supposed to look like he knows what he's doing and remember his lines and act. And yeah, Jared kept kind of flubbing his lines and needing more takes. It's like,
that, that's
uh,
funny.
Sam here is starting to have a migraine. He like slides off the bed onto his knees on the floor. Dean realizes Sam is in trouble. He grabs his brother, and the first thing that Sam does is reach out and grab his brother's shirt. Um, which I'm going to talk a little bit more in a moment, but he's having a vision, and so now we see the brother, the dead guy's brother. He's at home. He's just gotten home. He's got these groceries or something, and there is someone or something else in the apartment.
Yeah.
Window is opening by himself. He's like, "Oh, that's a little odd." And he comes over, he pulls the window shut, and he can't find anything wrong with it. So he's like, all right, that's weird. And he locks it. Goes back to putting his groceries away. And behind him, we've got this great, and this was all practical. We cut back to the window when his back is turned, and we see the lock flip
Ooh.
open all by itself. Here goes the window again. Brother goes over and he's like, what the hell? I
Hell,
just
I
closed
was
this
gonna.
window. So he does what any sensible person would do. He sticks his head out of the window. He's, well, before he does that, he's trying to close it. It won't budge. So he decides he's going to get a better look at this from the outside. So he hangs himself out the window. We've got this great shot here. This can't possibly go badly. He's kind of
Of course
jiggling
not.
around to make sure that it's right where his neck is. And
Oh,
we've got a
oh,
gratuitous blood spatter. And here's Dean saying it's happening again. Something is going to kill Roger Miller. We got a little commercial break. So let's pause here, check our game card, see if we have a gratuitous blood spatter.
now I
I
could have
do not.
sworn earlier that someone said supernatural. I can't.
Yes, but you're correct, but we don't have a square for that.
Oh, okay. That's not okay. That for some reason I thought that that was a meta moment or a fourth wall break. I don't know why.
Oh, oh, that's an interesting question. I hadn't thought of it as being one.
Because that's what I assumed that meant. And maybe I am incorrect.
Yeah, so a meta moment or a fourth wall break is something where the show acknowledges that it's a show. So, like, as an example, we called it a fourth wall break or a meta moment when back in Faith, when Dean made the crack about daytime television sucking, because Jensen, prior to coming to Supernatural, had a job on a daytime
Right.
soap opera,
Right.
right? But you bring up, so I hadn't thought of somebody saying the word supernatural as being a fourth wall break, but I could be convinced.
I mean, to me, they mentioned the actual show.
You know what? You have convinced me, and I'm mad about it because I have one of those, which means I have to drink some more of this.
So do I.
But yeah, but you like yours.
I know. That's
What
because
you bitching?
my sister makes a rockin' cocktail
Well,
that
you
I can.
made it, but
Well,
you
no, it's
follow
your
a
recipe.
written recipe.
It's your recipe.
You
So
know, and it's
I can.
better than this.
And then what was the other one we just saw that we just had? Because I feel like I had that one too.
Mm, gratuitous blood spatter.
Uh, that one I don't have.
Mm,
Hmm.
I don't either, thank God. All right. What was I going to mention? Oh, so before we hit play again, the I had briefly mentioned about Sam. Again, he's having this vision. He's having this splitting pain in his head. He's having a hard time telling what's real and what's this vision. And he reaches out and he grabs hold of the collar of Dean's shirt.
Yes.
And again, this is something we're going to see from him eh, throughout the series. Whenever he's having an experience like this, where he's having some difficulty differentiating between what's real and what's not real, or he's in some kind of distress, when he has the opportunity, one of the very first things he does is grab a hold of Dave. Um, which is why I had mentioned the thing before about Dean sleeping with his arm out. And to your point earlier, Lynn, we're really, we're in the back half of the season here. This is episode 14, and we're really starting to see the relationship between the brothers. We're getting a lot more detail into what the quality and the nature of that relationship is. And we're really starting to see how, despite Sam going off to be on his own for a couple of years for college, the two of them really are very heavily dependent on one another. And when they're in some kind of distress, the first thing they do is look for their brother.
Yeah. See, I'm going to go back to our last conversation to something
Okay.
you had said. I would take it a step further
Mm-hmm.
to say that it's not just Dean being a big brother. I think it goes 10 times. I don't even think it's the big brother thing anymore. I think they are just that deep, that connected, that close that the fact that he's the big brother to me, I think is almost irrelevant. It's just
Mm.
it's a brotherhood. Look,
It is a brotherhood, and I have thoughts I can't really mention now that we'll put a pin in that and we'll come back in a few episodes. But yet no, they absolutely have a dependence on one another. Um,
I mean, I'm
we're
not
going to
saying
see a lot
it's
more in
not
a few
at
episodes.
all. I'm not saying it's not at all the fact that he, like, I think every older
Mhm.
brother has that
Mm.
feeling of needing to look out for the younger sibling. I just think it's also that best friend mentality that we're seeing right now come into play.
I, again, I have thoughts I
Yeah.
can't mention right now. So remind me of that in a couple of episodes.
I
Th-
gotcha. I
yeah.
gotcha.
I- Personally, I think there's a lot more going on here than just best friends. I shouldn't say just, but there are things I can't say right now. So tune in, tune in later. Stick with us. You'll get to hear my thoughts on that.
Excellent.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, hitting play. We've got the car racing along, and uh, they're having this conversation in the
Hold on.
car.
I'm having technical problems again.
Oh no. They're in the car and they are on their way. Sam is on the phone and he's trying to get the address for Roger Miller, who's the brother that we just saw die in Sam's vision.
Yeah.
Presumably, Sam's got his fake ID back out. And so he gets an address, and Dean is starting to deflect here. He's kind of cracking jokes about, like, if you're going to hurl, don't do it in the car because, the upholstery man. Um, and Sam is saying, like, he's scared. These nightmares or these visions, whatever they are, they're intense, they're painful, they're getting worse than what he'd had before. And Dean just keeps saying, come on, man, you're fine. And he's really deflecting here. He's trying to distract Sam. He's pretending nothing is wrong. And Sam is saying, I don't get it. What is it about the Millers? Like, up to this point, all of the visions or dreams or what have you he's had, they've been about him and the family and Jess. And all of a sudden, it's about this strange family they've never heard of before in their lives. And he pointedly asks Dean, he says, You can't tell me this doesn't freak you out. And Dean kind of puts on his poker face and he says, It doesn't freak me out. And then the camera lingers on him and it's freaking him out. You can see it in
Yeah.
his face. He's worried. They pull up in front of Roger Miller's house just as he's coming home with his groceries. He's trying to stop them, and Roger Miller is like, I don't need missionaries. Go away. Like, I don't need Jesus right now. I don't want your help. Leave me alone. They're trying to explain to him he's in danger. He's like, yeah, I got no time for Father Kiss here. The two of them run around back. They find a gate, and we've got Dean kicking open a door here. So we're going to check our game cards in just a second. They start climbing up, and they're trying to get to the brother before whatever it is that's trying to kill him. And they're racing up. I think the house number or the apartment number was 411. I forget what the apartment number is, but they've got this is some great shots, by the way. That Phil Segrisha has these shots kind of up through the fire escape as they're running up. They get almost all the way and they hear that, clunk as the window comes down, and here's the
Oh,
blood. And the head is in the flower box in the
oh,
window, and there was blood everywhere, and they're too late. They couldn't get there. Again, got some great shots through of the brothers through the bloody window. Dean immediately realizes they've just touched the railing all the way up these flights of stairs. He hands a bandana to Sam and says, You need to start wiping your fingerprints off of this because we cannot have been here. He puts Sam to work doing that while Dean goes inside and he's looking to see if he can find anything. No sign at all of anything. Sam is insisting, I saw something else in the house. Something was stalking Roger. So they're trying to figure out what that is. I'm going to pause it here as they're trying to figure out what a vengeful spirit is. And we've got a door kick. Let's see
I
here.
I feel like I don't have one.
I do have somebody kicks in a door, which makes
I'm
me
s-
sad. So I got this one. Okay.
Let's see if I can get
Powering
that.
through.
Alrighty.
Powering through. Okay, so they're trying to decide, do you think this is a vengeful spirit? Like it's weird for them to move around. They're usually attached to something. It, they're kind of running through the repertoire of what could this possibly be. And they're trying to figure out if it's maybe some kind of a curse. Uh, and they've got this kind of fun line here about it, Sam saying, I have things in common with them. Both our families are cursed. And Dean's like, our family's not cursed. We got our dark spots. I'm like, and then Sam says, our dark spots are pretty dark. Like, yeah, your mom burning to death on the ceiling,
Yeah,
not
that
just
that
a dark spot.
that's
But
about as fucking dark as you get. Let's be honest.
yeah, I don't know that it gets a whole lot darker than that. However, we do have a tire squeal from Baby.
Yep.
So back to the cards. Let's see here. This is so many. Let's see.
uh,
I do not have a baby tire squeal. Do
nope, neither
you?
do I.
Do you want? Okay. So I'm not terribly sad about that. But if you are playing along with us and you have a tastier cocktail than I do, hopefully you're having more luck. So here they go. They are back in their priest outfits. They're back at the house. And Max is complaining that they've got tuna casserole coming out their ears. That's what everybody does is when somebody's grieving is they bring casseroles. They're sitting down
Yeah.
to talk to Max, and Max is looking very sweaty here. Like they're starting to ask him questions about how close he was with his uncle, and Max is just not looking good. He's
No.
pale, he's sweating, very obviously not telling the truth. And he's talking about growing up, that his father, Uncle Roger, lived right next door. So the whole family was very close. He's like, everything was fine. I had a wonderful childhood. And both Sam and Dean are looking at him like, oh, perfect childhood, huh? Um, so nobody's buying what he's selling. I don't know that he
Nope.
could look very much shiftier if he tried.
Nope. No, he can't. Especially,
And
I mean, just his facial expression screams guilt.
yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Or at the very least, he's hiding something.
Oh yeah.
Whether or not you think he's looking guilty, he's definitely hiding something. And Sam and Dean realize they're not going to get straight answers out of this guy. So they take off and they're like, nobody's family is totally normal and totally happy. Like something is definitely going on. They decide they're going to go to the old neighborhood. They're going to see if they can talk to maybe some of the old neighbors. We've got this scene here where now they're out of the priest outfits and so no more hot priests, sadly. But they're talking to the neighbor, and the neighbor is wearing an Elk Rapids ball cap here. That's really way too small for him.
Yes.
But the director, Phil Segresha, is from Michigan, and he has family that still lives in Michigan. So whenever they do one of these episodes, I mean, every episode is somewhere else. It's kind of a road show. They try to get stuff from whatever's local to where the show is supposed to be taking place, because everything's in Vancouver where they're filming. So Phil Segresha calls his sister and says, "I need Michigan shit." So she sent him a box with, ball caps and coffee mugs and all kinds of Michigan. I think there's a magnet on one of the refrigerators. We're going to see in a little bit. So she sent him just a box of Michigan shit, including this ball cap. Phil Segresha went to high school in Elk Rapids, Michigan, so he was particularly fond of this cap that this neighbor is wearing. But the neighbor is saying that both the brother and the father used to just beat the crap out of Max when they lived across the street. And he's saying he called the police half a dozen times. They never did anything. Sam starts having a vision, and what he's seeing is Max confronting what they've now learned is the stepmother. She's not the biological mother. And Max is, oh my goodness, Max is telekinetic. So he's making the knife float. She was chopping some vegetables, and he's twisting the knife. He's not there's oh my goodness, this is an amazing shot here where the knife comes in towards her eye and just like pierces that tear that's welling up and it runs down her face. That was like for 2005, these are some incredible special effects here. They do this incredible job, and there's this second where you think she's talked him out of it, but no, he sends this knife straight through her skull into her head. And here go Sam and Dean. They're
Yeah.
racing, trying to get there. And you can see Sam is still suffering a bit, and he's saying, "It looks like telekinesis." Dean is like, "He's a spoon bender?" Like, what? Like, what? We haven't come across one of these. And Sam's just saying, "Look, I saw what I saw. The kid's telekinetic. He's responsible for all the deaths." And he starts talking about these connections that he has with Max, about how they both have psychic abilities of some kind. They both have kind of temperamental fathers, although obviously Max had it worse with the brother and the father both kind of
Yeah.
knocking him around whenever they had the opportunity. And they're talking, and this is a conversation we've seen from them before. Like we saw it in Faith, when like,
Mm.
okay, when your bad guy, when your monster is a person, what do you do? And Dean is saying, we got to end this guy. And Sam is like, no, no, he's a person. We can talk to him. We can reason with him. And Dean is saying, the guy's telekinetic. We can't just call the cops and saying, hey, he's murdering people with his mind. So they're in a little bit of a gray area here, where the bad guy, the monster of the week, is a person, but the criminal justice system is completely ill-equipped to handle somebody with abilities like his. Sam
Yeah.
and Dean, they break into the house. They've gotten there just in time, and they've managed to distract Max from stabbing his stepmother. So they're ahead of it here, and they're trying to get Max out of the house. Like, okay, let's see if we can separate him from the stepmom so that she's safe. Well, we have a talk with Max here. And it's all going well. He's agreeing to leave until Dean reaches for the door, and Max gets a look in the mirror next to the door that Dean has tucked a handgun into his belt. So Max spots the the handle of the pistol sticking out of Dean's belt, and he's going full carry here. And
Yeah.
the windows are slamming shut, the shades are slamming shut. He grabs the gun away from Dean. So Dean has dropped his weapon. We'll check our game cards in just a second. He throws Alice into a wall. So we'll check our game cards for that as well. They're trying to talk Max off the ledge, and Max has gotten a hold of Dean's gun. And Max is saying, this is all going to be over. Just let me kill her. And then, it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be over. Just let me kill her. Sam starts saying, I'm like you. I'm having visions. I know what you were going to do. I saw you drive that knife right through your stepmom's eye. Let us help you. And Max is really like he's clearly on a ledge here. And they're trying to talk him down. Dean is being really smart. He's just kind of keeping his trap set. He's letting puppy dog eyes Sam handle it.
Yeah.
Right up until Max starts saying, no, you come with me alone. And Dean is like, no fucking way. Like you're not going anywhere with my brother. Sam is like, I've got this. It's okay. Take the mom upstairs. Max agrees to give them 5 minutes. So Dean is going to take the stepmom upstairs so that she's at least for the moment safe. And Sam is going to have a conversation with Max. So let's pause it here and check our Stupornatural game cards. And we are looking for, you know what? I just realized I have a Dean calls Sam Sammy. We had one of those a little earlier and I missed it. Or I think I was repressing that it was we did more. We've got a Dean drops his weapon, or one of the boys.
Yep, I got that.
You have one of those. I do not, but I do have someone gets thrown against a wall. Okay, so I've got 2, counting the Sammy from earlier.
Yep, nope.
Cheers. Mm. Oh, not good. Okay.
Yum, yum, yums.
All right. So here we are. I'm hitting play. Sam is alone with Max and he's talking to him. Now there's something that's interesting happening here. The composer for this episode is Chris Leonard's, who was also the composer on the pilot. And he brought back he calls it kind of a like a messy, junky theme for the demon, any kind of demon activity. And he brings it back here. So if you listen closely to the score that's under this scene, it's a callback to the pilot. And what Max is saying is that both his father and his brother his father's brother, his uncle, continued to beat him clear up to last week. And he just broke. And he's like, he wasn't going to take it anymore. And now like he believes that killing his tormentors is going to fix everything. That the whole time this is happening, he's with his mind playing with this letter opener on the side table, and he's just kind of spinning faster and faster. The one thing I wish that they had done here was there's going to be a point in a minute where he lets this letter opener drop, and the tabletop is pristine. I wish they had like gouged a little like hole in it from this letter opener spinning. You were about to say something.
I agree with you because the whole time you kind of are like, I kept waiting for that thing to like drill a hole in that table the whole
Yep,
time. It's like, seriously? There's
yep.
no freaking way that that thing did not scratch that damn table. Like,
I
come on.
agree. And it also reminds me of, again, back in my undergraduate days working in the mental health field, for like, as an example, writing, that like you can tell a person's emotional state by like how much the pen is digging into the paper. Like if you're looking at something somebody's written and it's like engraved because they've been pushing so hard on the pen, that it tells you that that person is experiencing some really intense emotions. Um, so I'm like, I want to see that drill through the table, or at least like have dug in. I agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, because
Go ahead.
clearly he's not doing that lightly. I mean,
No,
with the
no, yeah,
passion in his eyes, you could
yep,
tell that that's not light.
yeah, absolutely. And so he's telling Sam that his mom died the exact same way as Mary Winchester, that his dad had this
Yeah.
bullshit story about her burning to death pinned to the ceiling. And Sam is like, yeah, no, it's not a bullshit story. Like that's how my mom died. And so Sam realizes he's in this situation where he's talking to another person whose mother died the same way Sam's mom died, who started having supernatural powers 6, 8 months ago, just like Sam did. Um, and that there's some kind of connection between the two of them. Sam doesn't know what it is yet, but he knows there's something. And he's saying, like, we were chosen for something. Max is like, chosen for what? And Sam's like, fuck, I don't know, but we have to have these powers for a reason.
I think the timing
Um,
of everything is just a little too coincidental.
yeah, yeah, like you and I have to be connected somehow. Come with us. Let us help you. Let your stepmother go. We can figure this out together. Um, and it looks for a second
Yeah,
like
like
Max is going to go for it. And then he's like, no, no, not going to happen. What they did to me, they deserve what they get. I am living my life in fear because of what they did to me. If I'm taking care of business. Sam tries to stop him and he's trying to convince Max, look, killing them is not going to make you feel better. Like it's not going to stop the nightmares. It's not going to stop the fear. You don't have to do this by yourself. Let us help you. So he's doing everything he can think of to try to convince Max. Other than just knocking him the fuck out, tying him up, putting him
yeah,
in the closet, which is what Max does to Sam. Max pushes Sam into a closet and he slides this furniture across in front. I love this scene here where the door opens before Max comes down the hallway and he the way that he moves is so menacing and you see
mm,
him doing all these things with his mind. He throws Dean into the wall and just shatters the sheetrock. Like that was not a light hit.
yeah,
He's got Dean's pistol still, and he lets go of it, and telekinetically, he's maneuvering the gun to point at Dean. And Dean is like, "Come on, man, stop it!" The gun points at the stepmom. Dean gets in the way. So he steps between the gun and the stepmother to protect her. Max is like, nope, done. And he shoots Dean in the head. And we've got this close up of Dean dead on the floor, bullet hole between his eyes. And we realize this is a vision that Sam has had. So thank God Dean is still
Yes.
alive, but the
But
trauma of it allows Sam to
you,
mentally, telekinetically shove the uh whatever this big armoire thing was, the china cabinet from in front of the door. We're seeing a repeat of the scene again. Dean has just gotten in front of the stepmom and he's trying to protect her. He says, if you want to kill her, you're going to have to go through me first. Max is like, your terms are acceptable to me. Sam breaks in. He's making one more passionate plea to Max. Please don't do this. This is not the solution. It's not going to fix anything. And Max says, you're right. You're right. It's not. And I love Jared's performance here. I think he does such a great job. You see this joy on his face. Like, I finally got through to him. Nope, Max whirls the gun around and he uses his telekinesis to end his own life. I'm going to pause it here and let's take a look at our Supernatural game cards because we just saw one of the boys die.
yep.
So let's see if either one of us has Sam or Dean die. I have Sam or Dean have sex. I want to point out that is Sam or Dean, not Sam and Dean. They're not having sex with each other. Sam or Dean. So I have Sam or Dean have sex. Hmm, I don't have.
Nope, I don't have that they.
I
No,
don't have either of them die. Go ahead.
you would think in this episode somewhere, with all of this, there would have been a heartfelt bro moment, but there really wasn't one.
What? We're not done with the episode yet. So, but now here's my question, and I'm leaning towards no, but I have
But
one of the boys gets tied up. Now nobody was tied up. Sam was locked in a closet. We're not going to count that, right?
no, no, we
No,
are
we're not
not.
going to count that. That nobody was tied up. He's just locked in a closet. Last thing I'm going to mention before we hit play is there's an if you have access to the discs, there's an extended scene for this episode. I think I had mentioned this the last episode we recorded, where they would if there was a scene that they knew was going to be pretty gory and it was going to give the studio or the network, it was going to make them uncomfortable, it was going to give them some agita, they would film a lot more than they thought they could get away with, so that when they got the notes from the studio, they could edit it down to what they really wanted in the first place. That scene we just saw with Dean getting shot in the head is one of them. That they deliberately, there are two things they deliberately overshot in this episode. One was the stepmom getting stabbed through the eye. That there's an extended version of that scene that's far more graphic. And there's also an extended version of Dean getting shot. So Jensen was wearing a backpack essentially that had the workings of the blood cannon in it, and it had like a little periscope coming up behind his head, and then he had the trigger in his hand, which is why you don't see either of his hands on camera because he's holding the
Yeah.
trigger. So the extended version of the scene, like you full on see him get shot in the head, react, and the you see the blood physically spray out of the back of his head. Um, but they trimmed that down. They did that all on purpose because they knew the studio was not going to let them get away with it.
I gotta say,
Oh,
that's one of the many things that. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna save that comment for the end.
okay, all right. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I just poured my water all over myself. Okay, I haven't even had that much. All right. home stretch here. Hitting play. And the mother she's got this head wound. She's got her, well, she's all patched up and she's really kind of stone faced, telling the cops this made up story that Sam and Dean had nothing to do with it. They tried to stop him. She doesn't know where Max got the gun. One thing I don't, I don't want to say I don't get, but so the handgun that we've seen Dean carrying in this episode will become Sam's primary handgun, with the mother of pearl grips. I have to assume that the cops would have confiscated it as evidence. So I don't know if they just took it with them, but then there's no explanation for the cops of where the gun went. We're just gonna let that go. But she tells this story that exonerate Sam and Dean, and the cops just let the two of them go. Like, okay, well, clearly you have nothing to do with this. You didn't just witness a homicide or a suicide or anything. So off you go. It's nice to see you boys. You have a great evening. The cops let them go. And this point, I would say, I'd be prepared to call this a heartfelt bromance because, they're having this conversation and Sam says, "Thank God for Dad." And Dean is like, what now? Like, I never thought I'd hear you say that. And Sam was like, okay, Dad was no picnic, but we could have we could have had Max's childhood. And all things considered, we turned out okay thanks to him. And it's like, yeah, all things considered, yeah, we did. Yes. It's kind of a this interesting moment where Sam is starting to understand that his dad, flawed though he was maybe not the ogre he had kind of remembered him to be.
Yeah, he did the best he could with with I don't want to say what he had, but with everything he'd witnessed and seen, he did the best he could.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk a lot more about this as
Yeah.
this season and then, well, really this season roll on and into the next one. But yeah, I think Sam is really starting to see like, okay, I might have, like, he was definitely not Father of the Year, but I might have judged him a little more harshly than he deserved. Like, it certainly could have been worse. Now, the fact that there are people who are worse doesn't make John good, but it could certainly have been worse.
And I definitely agree with you that this conversation is as not as sentimental as they get, but it's pretty damn close.
I think it counts. And now,
Yes.
interestingly,
Oh,
so it continues now back in the motel room. And I love this delivery from Jared where he's like, yeah, so I kind of moved a dresser. Or he could just kind of drop this and Dean's not going to notice. And Dean is like, wait, you did what? And he pulls out this spoon and he says, then this. It's like, no, I can't. It's not a party trick. I can't control it. I knew you were in danger. I saw you die, and it came out of me like a punch, like a freak adrenaline thing. Um, and Dean is doing what he was doing earlier when we're talking in the car. Like Sam's saying, like, aren't you worried about this? And Dean's like, nope, this is totally fine. We're not worried about this. You know why? Because I'm here. I'm always going to take care of you. You have nothing to worry about as long as I'm here. Um, so when Sam is just like, okay, I don't I don't know that I'm buying this.
I was gonna say because
Um,
you kind of see both Deans in this scene. You see,
mhm.
actually, I'm gonna say you see all three Deans in this scene. You
Say
see
more.
Sentimental Dean,
Yeah.
You see, I am freaking the fuck out, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
gonna say
especially
it.
this last look here as they're walking out of the motel room, you can really see it in Dean's face. He's
Yeah.
freaking out.
Like, and he says it all in his face. So you see sentimental Dean freaking
Mhm.
the fuck out Dean because of when you see it all in his face. And then you see sarcastic Dean, which is the
Yeah.
normal Dean. So you
Which is
see three Deans in one scene, which let me tell you, that says an amazing amount for Jensen Ackles' talent because he can pull all three out at the drop of a hat and it doesn't even look
yeah.
like acting.
Yeah, he's convincing for all of them. I agree. And it's something, and I've commented about this before. I mean, this is what Dean does when he's experiencing some kind of strong emotion, he deflects. Like
Yeah,
we see sarcastic Dean, like the more distressed Dean is, the more sarcastic he gets.
yeah.
Um, and so, he's I think you're right. I agree with you. In addition to what you're saying, I think part of what we're seeing is him, he's trying to distract Sam because he sees Sam is upset by what's happening, and so he's trying to pretend it's not as bad to help keep Sam calm. And two, as you said, he's freaking the fuck out, and so he's deflecting so he can kind of not need to wrestle with his own emotions.
I was gonna say I would
Um,
take that a step further and say he's distracted. He's trying to distract both of them so that he
yeah,
doesn't have to think about it and he can get Sam on to a different subject. So neither one
yeah,
of them is thinking about what is actually going on right now. It's like, okay, let's change the subject, please, because I need to stop
yeah.
thinking about this now.
Let's go to Vegas. Let's take your psychic powers. If you can move things with your brain, we're going to the craps tables.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's see if either one of us have a heartfelt broman, and that is
I
going to
do.
be you do. So you grab that. I do not.
You're like, oh, thank you, Jesus.
Oh yeah, I did not want to drink any more of that. That was not enjoyable to me. Okay, so the most I have in a
Cheers.
row is cheers. The most I have in a row is two. Where did you land?
Three.
Okay, so you have three. You have lost by less than I have. So I have a total of six.
I have
Let's
a
see, two,
total
four,
of one, two,
five,
three,
eight.
4, 5, 6, 7. I think call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I would have had 9 if that stupid thing had been an EMF detector and not the other thingy.
I do have EMF detector for mine, which would have given me three, but I'm okay with not counting it. Well, and sometimes I do a last call, and I will not be doing a last call this evening because I don't
Well,
want to
I
drink
think I
anymore of
might
that.
have
It's
to do a
god
last.
awful. But if I
I think
had
I
a
may have
margarita, I'd be doing a last call too.
this.
Okay. The last thing I want to mention is that heartfelt bromance at the end. Sam drops this little kind of throwaway line. He speculates, what if the demon that killed their mother was really after Sam? And Dean is like, no, it couldn't possibly be that. So we'll see. We'll see maybe if that comes back later.
Hmm.
Um, okay. One thing you loved, one thing you hated.
All right. What I'm trying, I know I had said something earlier that I was like, I'm going to come back to that later. And
You
I
did say
should.
that, yes.
Now, can you remember what the hell we were talking about?
No, that was your job.
Well,
Can't
I feel
remember what you were going to say because you didn't say it.
I can't remember what the hell I was going to say. Because that was
Uh,
because that was the
uh,
one thing if I remember correctly, I didn't. I want to say that's the one thing I didn't like. And
I
damn
feel like
it.
we were saying something about the brothers. I'm of no help to you. Oh, can you tell us one thing you did like while you're thinking?
Um,
Should I go first?
yes.
Okay, I'll go first. So, the thing that I loved about this episode is the way it's filmed. It keeps, as the audience, it keeps us just as disoriented as Sam is. The way that it cuts back and forth between hit Sam's visions and reality, and the timeline is never consistent. So sometimes he sees it while it's happening, sometimes he sees it before it's happening. So it keeps us just as off kilter as Sam is. And I think that that's a really smart way to film this, because it puts us into Sam's shoes. He doesn't know what's real and what's not, and neither do we. And I think that's pretty cool. What I hated about it is so when they're talking to the neighbor in the little tiny Elk Rapids cap that's too small for him. Um the neighbor is talking about how the father and the brother would beat up the kid, and he says the stepmom was worse because she stood by and did nothing. And that comment bothers me quite a bit, because like, are you seriously saying to me that you think two people actively beating up a child is not as bad as a woman who, let's be honest, if her husband is beating the crap out of the kid, I find it difficult to believe he's not hitting her too. We don't see that on screen. She doesn't say it. It's just, I don't think that's a leap to make that assumption that she's an abuse survivor as well. And it bothers me that they're making this judgment of her, that as as someone who is probably an abuse survivor herself, she's worse than the guy actively beating on a child. Why? Is it, I
Yeah.
mean, is there some patriarchal bullshit going on here that, because she's a woman, she's supposed to sacrifice herself for the kid, and because she doesn't, that makes her worse? Like, and it's not just that guy. Max is saying something as well, that when he's saying why he thinks Alice deserves to die too, that somehow she's worse. And be better, Supernatural.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you on that, or at least they're all equally.
Should she have done something? Should she have
Yes.
testified against them? Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's blameless.
No, I'm just saying one is not worse. I mean, one is she is not worse than the other two.
Mm-mm.
Um, as far as something I hated,
This is a good one.
this
It's a great
this
episode.
this is a good one.
Yeah.
I think I think the one thing that annoyed me is that sometimes I feel like Sam relies too heavily on just talking the situation to death and not being proactive and being like, "Oh, I
Right.
thought I had him." And it's like, for the love of God,
Knock him
just
out, lock him in the closet,
yeah, exactly. Like, come on, bud.
tackle him.
Yeah, not everyone is going to be able to be talked down. Like, let's
No, you're
just
twice the dude's size. Tackle him.
yeah. So yeah, so that was one. So and that I don't want to say it annoys me, right? Because don't get me wrong, there are times when that puppy dog talking it through thing works really really well, but
Hmm.
in that particular moment, it really
No,
annoyed me.
not that one.
What one thing I really loved was I liked how Dean lets Sam take the lead on a lot of things because usually you see it flipped or you see him trying to take control. And
Right.
this time it was like, you know what? I'm going to stand back.
Yeah.
And I
Sam is
liked,
asking for trust. I'm going to give it to him. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like he's trusting his brother a lot more. And I like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That is something. And I think you had mentioned it a couple of episodes ago that we do see them kind of trade places in some ways.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely in these early episodes, we see it being a little bit more of a partnership
Yes.
than we'll see in later seasons. So all right. Well, that is last call. I will not be having any more because that's not tasty. Thanks so much for coming along with us for the ride. If you like what we're doing here, tell your friends, tell your family, tell strangers on the street. Please also like our videos. Make sure that you comment and subscribe because that all makes it easier for other people to find us. We love hearing from our SPN family. Please send us an email at hunterfuelpodcast, all one word, at gmail.com, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hunter Fuel Podcast.
Yeah.
In our next, were you going to say something?
Nope. I was just agreeing with you.
As you should. In our next episode, we'll be watching season 1, episode 15, The Benders, when a nice country family invites Sam and Dean to go hunting with them. Until then, stay safe, everybody. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.